This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Cause and effect or coincidence? That's the latest question in the cigarette controversy tonight. It is raised by researchers who say that even so-called passive smoking poses a risk of cervical cancer. CBS News correspondent Terrence Smith has read the report.
Passive smoking, which has already been linked to lung cancer, was put on another danger list today. A new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association says that women who are exposed to other people's smoking for 3 or more hours a day face almost 3 times the risk of cancer of the cervix. Women, especially non-smokers over 40, are said to be as likely to get cervical cancer from what is called side stream smoke as they would if they smoked themselves.
This is one more example of where being exposed to the smoke of other people may also be very detrimental to your health.
Who's affected? Women who work surrounded by smokers.
When you have the smoking section, it's a real health hazard. It's not like you're out in the coal mines or something, but it's something that I resent, and I resent being up there and having to inhale the smoke.
But the study found that the greatest risk is being exposed to smoke in the home. Jennifer Pepino was married to a heavy smoker and developed cervical cancer.
I'm just very, very angry. I don't think women should be exposed to this. It's not fair. It cut my possibilities of having any more children out.
The tobacco industry says the study fails to prove that being exposed to cigarette smoke causes disease.
Passive smoking, to most people, is perhaps irritating to some people, but it is not a health problem.
But the study seems certain to put more heat on smokers.
Some people thought that the non-smoking policies on airplanes and in corporations were a fad. I think that studies like this are going to show people that it's not a fad and that it's here to stay.
The Public Health Service says that the study, which was conducted among some 600 women in Utah, reinforced the Surgeon General's earlier warnings about the dangers of passive smoking. Dan?
Terry, we understand how smoke can affect the organs of the upper body. How can it affect the parts of the lower body?
These studies, Dan, show that the smoke taken in through the lungs can then travel through blood cells to other organs in the body, including, in this case, the cervix.
Thanks, Terry. In an interview with CBS News White House correspondent Leslie Stahl, President Bush's new anti-drug policy coordinator William Bennett today hinted at the possibility of curbs on semi-automatic rapid-fire assault weapons made in the USA. Out campaigning today in Texas, President Bush hedged on whether he himself stands for or against this. It was Mr. Bush's first public comment since this week's temporary suspension on imports of AK-47s and other foreign-made rapid-fire assault weapons, weapons fast becoming the guns of choice for drug dealers and others bent on maximum killing in minimum time. White House correspondent Wyatt Andrews reports.
It was as if the president needed to assure nervous conservatives in adopted hometown Houston that he is not going overboard on gun control. Yes, he called a halt to importing assault rifles, but only for the right reasons.
I do want to find a solution to the so-called AK-47 assault weapon problem. One that protects the rights of the legitimate sportsmen, but also protects the lives of our police officers who are laying their lives on the line for us every single day.
With the president now selling his import suspension as a way to protect law enforcement, the criticism remains that the step he has taken doesn't even do that very well. Since the ban on imports, sales of all assault weapons have shot skyward, and the administration does not plan any quick restrictions on sales of domestic guns. Drug czar William Bennett says he will not pressure American manufacturers to follow the lead of Colt, which has voluntarily stopped selling its AR-15 rifle to the public.
I really don't want to lean on executives of private companies. This is not a dictatorship. We do not tell people how to do their business.
But that is for now. Bennett does not rule out controls on domestic assault rifles in the future.
I am concerned about those weapons in the United States. I am considering a whole range of options, and I will report back to the president.
Mr. Bush has successfully given the impression he's doing something about assault weapons, but he's now caught by the question of what comes next. It's either wade into the politics of federal gun control or preside over a temporary gun ban certain to be ineffective. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Houston.
They were snapping them up. Gun lovers flocking to stores all over the country today. buying semi-automatic assault weapons, often paying a $200 premium over list price.
They've gone crazy over these things. They've bought us out of them.
Disappearing especially fast from the shelves, the foreign-made AK-47, now under a temporary government import ban. Also moving fast, the semi-automatic AR-15, a popular rifle made in this country by Colt Industries, which yesterday announced it would no longer make the gun for the commercial market. Colt would not provide details, but estimates are the rifle brought it annual profits of $1 million. But even as Colt was being praised by the administration, questions were being raised.
I hope that Colt has literally taken the high road and told the president that they understand his concerns.
Workers at the Colt Armory, already embroiled in a labor dispute, openly doubt the company's motives.
Their real position was stated about 3 or 4 weeks ago when they made a decision to sue the state of California when they passed legislation to prevent the sale of assault rifles.
Colt, they say, wants to ingratiate itself with the government in an effort to win back a big contract it recently lost for the M16 military rifle.
By taking or suspending production of the AR-15, they can create positive press for the public and positive press with the Pentagon in order to gain the M16 contract back.
Gun stores already are making big money from the ban, some raising prices as much as 50%. One dealer saying that by week's end, not one single semi-automatic in the United States will remain unsold. Dan?
Thank you, Ray. Federal agents talked up the latest high-visibility drug bust today, this one aimed at breaking a major Mexico to Texas connection. Correspondent Bob McNamara reports on the haul of suspects, drugs, and guns.
In half a dozen Texas cities, FBI agents staged pre-dawn raids on homes of suspected drug traffickers. In San Antonio, 12 were rounded up, while at the same time in Houston, agents confiscated guns as well as collared suspects. In South Texas, too, there were 9 more arrests. Calling the raids Operation Jet Set, the FBI attempted to break what's believed a $4 million a day drug smuggling pipeline.
This is a classic organization that's bringing drugs through Mexico.
Arrested, too, was 36-year-old Mario Salinas. Salinas, an alleged drug king, a former migrant worker who in recent years owned a San Antonio construction business and a quarter-horse ranch, a ranch through which it's believed he laundered barrels of drug money, disguising sales of prize horses to fictitious buyers.
And we're going to try to take the profit out of narcotics by seizing their assets.
In fact, Salinas was so successful with horses, a recent cable TV show featured him and one of his quarter horses winning the breed's Champion of Champions race.
Salinas Ranch is owned by the nephew of the President of Mexico.
But today Salinas denied he's related to Mexico's president. Sources say those arrested were tied to the Guadalajara cartel, a gang that smuggles Mexican marijuana and cocaine across the Texas border, then trucks it to California, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts for broader distribution, a drug corridor that federal agents say had grown to rival the Florida pipeline. Bob McNamara, CBS News, San Antonio.
New questions tonight over who knew what and when about the bomb that destroyed Pan Am Flight 103 over Scotland December 21st. The British Transport Ministry acknowledged today that it sent out a specific warning with a photograph of a bomb concealed in a cassette player 2 days before the explosion. Pan Am said it didn't receive the warning in the mail until January 17th, nearly a month later. Both the ministry and the airline refused to comment further, leaving a lot of questions. Still to come on your CBS Evening News, Susan Spencer with the latest on the nation's fruit fears. And Doug Tennell on Terry Anderson, seen only now in pictures after 4 years kidnapped in Lebanon.
Richard, let's make a deal. You loan me your new Cutlass Supreme and I'll fill her up. Dad Olds gave me a year's supply of gasoline. Marilyn, $50 to use your new Tornado.
I got $1,500 back from Olds.
Sharon, need help financing your Cutlass Calais?
I got 4.9 financing. Sorry.
This is not your father's Oldsmobile.
Hey, kid.
Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal on a new generation.
Are you okay, Dad?
Sure, doctor said it's heartburn.
Heartburn and high blood pressure. Wants him to cut out salt.
Well, you better do it.
He will. Don't worry.
If you're one of millions of heartburn sufferers and also have to cut out salt, cut it out of your antacid too. Riopan Plus 2 is sodium-free, and it starts neutralizing stomach acid in 10 seconds.
Dessert?
Well, you're sure feeling better, Dad.
For heartburn and indigestion, Riopan Plus 2, sodium-free, and it works fast.
Tickets for Webb?
We interrupt this purchase for a reminder. The Discover card actually pays you cash back for every charge.
I hope you like this.
It pays to Discover.
It's time to change your bulb to Philips. Philips Longer Life Square bulbs last 33% longer than ordinary bulbs.
President Bush, caught off guard by the recent peace initiative taken by the leaders of Central American countries, is now trying to win backing in Congress for continued aid to the Nicaraguan rebels, the Contras. CBS News State Department correspondent Bill Plant is covering the behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Bill?
Dan, what they have in mind is a sort of political insurance plan which would prevent Nicaragua and the left in this country from whipsawing the administration and Congress on the issue as they have in the past. The plan is still the subject of intense negotiations tonight between Secretary of State James Baker and congressional Democratic leaders. It has a sort of carrot and stick approach to the Sandinista government of Nicaragua. It calls on the Nicaraguans to make good on their plans for free, fair, and democratic elections as they promised in the Central American Peace Plan. The administration, and here's the catch, would continue humanitarian aid to the 11,000 Contras who are now camped in the country of Honduras, to the tune of about $4 million a month until the Sandinistas held their elections no later than the end of February next year. After that, the U.S. would guarantee the repatriation or relocation of the Contras to wherever else they wanted to go. But of course, it is the aid, the continued aid, even though it's humanitarian, which has been the sticking point with the Democrats. Dan?
Bill, what makes President Bush and Secretary of State Baker believe that the victorious Nicaraguan regime will go along with elections?
Well, they're counting on two things. One is they're calling the bluff of the Sandinistas and encouraging them to abide by the plan which was drawn up by their fellow Central American presidents. Beyond that, the Secretary is looking for leverage from outside, economic leverage from Europe and even the Soviet Union.
Thank you, Bill Plant at the State Department. War-weary El Salvador is preparing for national elections Sunday, elections that are supposed to provide a way out of the 9-year-old civil war. But as correspondent Juan Vasquez reports tonight, the prospect of voting in El Salvador has raised more fear than hope.
It was left to the Army to provide what little transportation there was in El Salvador today. With an election coming up, the guerrillas have ordered everyone to stay off the streets and roads, or else. Bus owners are so afraid that they've painted over the few operating buses in the hope of concealing their identity. Some roads in the eastern part of the country were cut by barricades and mines. The guerrillas are terrorists, afraid to fight our soldiers, the Army's chief of staff claims. But attacks on the military are increasing as a prelude to the election. Our plan is to wear down and demoralize the Army, said this guerrilla during a break in fighting this morning. The peace plan has been forgotten. The United States sees the upcoming election as a sign that democracy is working in El Salvador, but the outcome could raise serious problems for U.S. policy here. If the polls are right, the right will win. The next president is expected to be Freddy Cristiani, a U.S.-educated businessman who heads the Arena Party. The party's real leader, many believe, is former Army Major Roberto Dawison, a man accused of heading the country's feared death squads. Cristiani is more moderate, but he shares Dawison's resentment of U.S. demands for political and social reform.
The sentiment in Arena, and most of us hold it, is that the United States should not interfere in the internal affairs of the country.
To the guerrillas, the election is a farce. On a secluded hillside just outside the capital, they're getting their new AK-47 assault rifles ready for action. U.S. officials fear that the weapons are part of a major rebel rearmament in preparation for a new round of fighting. In El Salvador, bullets still carry more weight than ballots. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, San Salvador.
You've just been caught knocking off the Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran. What's the most intelligent way to respond?
Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran? Define the word eat. Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
Yeah.
Did you eat all the Cracklin' Oat Bran?
Yo, Mom, your shoelace.
With the crunchy sweet taste of Kellogg's Cracklin' Oat Bran, an open box is an empty box.
Every time I see my wife color her hair, the mixing, the mess, I'm glad I've got Grecian Formula 16 to get rid of gray. Grecian isn't a dye, it's a clear liquid. Just comb in a few drops a day, and gradually, week by week, natural-looking color comes back. Then use it once a week to keep it that way. I'd go nuts waiting 40 minutes.
I slave over my hair, but with Grecian, you guys have it so easy.
Grecian, the no-mess way to get rid of gray, gradually.
Look at Frank's yard. I don't have a yard like that. Look at that John Deere tractor. I don't need a tractor like that. Want to see what I got?
Introducing the new STX lawn tractor, the basic John Deere, with a price that's just as basic.
No tough sinus cold is going to sideline these guys. Congestion, pressure. New maximum strength Dristan is tougher to sweep away congestion, pressure, and pain. And it won't make you drowsy. When you can't call in sick, call on Dristan.
Federal health officials today tried to assure parents that pesticide levels on apples pose no, quote, imminent hazard to children. But banished from cafeterias in the nation's 3 largest school districts, apples are not the only forbidden fruit across the land now, and worries about public health clash with what critics charge is an overreaction in Washington that threatens serious economic problems. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer has our report.
Amid scary reports of cancer-causing chemicals on apples, cyanide-laced grapes from Chile, and potential problems with just about all fruit, Capitol Hill today turned to actress Meryl Streep, who seemed to sum it all up.
Are we not allowed to know what's on the food? That's what's so distressing.
Of specific concern at this hearing, an apple treatment called Alar, a known carcinogen. The FDA downplayed worries, saying it's not used much.
We have found that only 10% of all of the products have any trace that we have looked at.
The EPA acknowledged that Alar can cause cancer, but insisted that the danger of small amounts has been overstated, that apples are safe, and that the law won't allow an immediate ban without more information.
I have repeatedly stated the need for changes in the law to allow us to get a pesticide off the market more quickly and easily once a problem has been identified.
But the flap over apples is beginning to pale compared to the problem of Chilean fruit, where many complain that the government ban, after finding just 2 poisoned grapes, is overreaction.
I stand to lose a lot of money, more money than I care to think about.
The FDA has checked more than 10,000 crates of fruit. No more cyanide found. This morning, Chile's foreign minister pleaded with Secretary of State Baker to end the ban, calling it the most serious catastrophe his nation ever has faced.
Do you think a decision will be made shortly?
We hope so. We need that.
Chile is said to be agreeable to a U.S. plan to inspect 5% of its shipments to guarantee future safety, but still left unresolved who would do the inspections, who would pay for them, and what to do with the tons of fruit still in storage that clearly can't stay there forever. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Washington.
Federal highway safety officials today announced an investigation of the cruise control systems on almost 2 million General Motors cars. This follows some consumer complaints that cruise control defects may cause drivers to lose control. Federal officials said they may press for a court-ordered recall of the GM cars. General Motors has refused government requests for a voluntary recall. The government today said housing construction in February took its sharpest plunge since May, plummeting 11.4%. The return of severe winter weather was blamed for some of the decline, but analysts said a slowing economy and rising mortgage interest rates will limit home building this year.
Along with the fiber, are you getting something extra in your high-fiber cereal? All of these cereals contain sodium and added sugar. Fiber Fiber One, however, is low in sodium and has absolutely no added sugar. And you get more fiber in Fiber One. So get more of the fiber your body needs and less of the stuff it doesn't. Get Fiber One.
Getting out and enjoying yourself. That's what life is all about. And it's easy when you have the best bladder control protection. Depend Undergarments has special layers of absorbency that won't bunch or sag, and elastic legs for a better fit. They're the best protection and the best way for you to get back into life. Hey there.
Get back into life with Depend.
Ever try this coffee?
Oh, no. I use a special blend, brewed fresh.
So do we. But then we freeze dry it to lock in superior flavor and aroma until you release it.
Perfect. Who are you?
We're Taster's Choice.
See the colors of Puerto Rico. Colors, colors everywhere. Puerto Rico, the shining star.
Oliver North's lawyers tried in court today to punch up the possibility of President Reagan's direct involvement in secret and possibly law-breaking military aid to Nicaraguan rebels. They did so during the latest testimony by Robert McFarlane, the former national security advisor to President Reagan and, for a while, Oliver North's superior officer. CBS News correspondent Rita Braver is covering the criminal conspiracy and cover-up trial of Oliver North.
I won't be here when I get here, though.
The defense in the Oliver North case today revealed information indicating that North sought and received approval directly from President Reagan to supply arms and intelligence to the Contras at a time when Congress had banned such aid. The disclosure came during the last day of testimony from former National Security Council Chief Robert McFarlane. North Attorney Brendan Sullivan asked about a top-secret memo North wrote to McFarlane in October 1985. North recommended that President Reagan approve a plan to airdrop intelligence information and 2 sophisticated recoilless rifles to the Contras to enable them to sink ships carrying arms to the Nicaraguan Sandinista government. The memo carried a notation from McFarlane's deputy, John Poindexter, saying, "President approved." It was not revealed whether the mission was carried out, but the document underscored an important defense contention: that North has always sought approval from his superiors. McFarlane was asked, did you understand Colonel North had the facility to airdrop intelligence and weapons to Nicaragua as part of his job at the NSC? Yes, responded McFarlane. And though he was supposed to be a key witness for the government, McFarlane had trouble remembering specifics of almost everything he was asked about. In fact, earlier, Judge Gerhard Gazelle admonished, the witness has given equivocal and confusing testimony, which calls into question whether it was North or McFarlane who was officially and knowingly responsible for specific activities that North is accused of in the indictment. And after hearing McFarlane testify for 5 days, the jury may now be more confused than ever over whether Oliver North really masterminded Reagan administration lies to Congress. Rita Braver, CBS News at the federal courthouse in Washington.
The Senate Armed Services Committee voted 20-0 today to recommend approval by the full Senate of Congressman Richard Cheney, President Bush's second choice for Defense Secretary.
Freedent's the one.
If you've got dental work, you've got 3 great reasons to chew Freedent gum. You know Freedent won't stick to your dental work, and Freedent freshens your breath. But maybe you didn't know Freedent moistens your mouth. So if you hate a dry mouth like I do, chew Freedent.
Freedent's the one that took the stick out of gum, and Freedent moistens your mouth. Yeah, moistens your mouth, and freshens your breath while you chew.
Non-stick Freedent moistens your mouth and freshens your breath.
Since the turn of the century, there have been 16 presidents and 1 original Bengay. There have been 580 Nobel Prize winners and 1 original Bengay. There have been 12 men who've walked on the moon and 1 original Bengay. But now we're introducing a different formula Bengay, Bengay warming ice. It goes on cool, then warms as its scent disappears. For fast relief of minor arthritis pain, warming ice. For Bengay, it's a once-in-a-lifetime introduction.
Feel your oats.
With Post Oat Flakes.
Feel your oats with new Post Oat Flakes. golden toasted flakes with whole grain oat nutrition and a crunchy oat taste. Feel your oats with new Post Oat Flakes.
The next time you have a glass of orange juice, tomato, or grapefruit, think about this. You get more of 7 important vitamins and minerals in a glass of great-tasting Sunsweet prune juice. Sunsweet. Here's to your health.
4 years ago today, pro-Iranian kidnappers seized American journalist Terry Anderson in Beirut. He is now the longest held of 9 American hostages. Doug Tennell has our Lest We Forget report.
It is now after midnight in Beirut. In a dark cell, Terry Anderson has just marked the beginning of year 5, lost in the heart of the world's most dangerous city. Anderson's friends have kept track of him through years of black and white snapshots from captivity. His eyes, they say, reveal the extent of his ordeal. American newsman Don Mell was on this Beirut street with Anderson when he was taken 4 years ago. Then, too, the eyes told the story.
There was a sort of horrified look in his eyes, and his eyes sort of said, you know, Don, do something.
But that was just the beginning of the helplessness.
Happy birthday to Daddy. Happy birthday to you.
Since then, Anderson's Lebanese wife has given birth to Solomé, a daughter he knows only from a video birthday greeting broadcast last year by Lebanese TV. Even while Anderson's father and brother were dying of cancer a few years ago, appeals for Anderson's release fell on deaf ears. The last time anyone heard from Terry Anderson was in a videotaped message last October designed to make hostages an election issue in America.
Remember, an unyielding refusal to deal with this matter is not going to make it go away.
The message was so profoundly troubling to Texas artist Maureen Seba that she was moved to paint his face. Her intense studies of the longest held hostage are intended to disturb.
I wanted to make very uncomfortable portraits so that they would stick in a person's mind.
While Terry Anderson's newsroom in Beirut has gone electronic, his desk and old-fashioned typewriter are gathering dust. And some here fear that the current impasse of Middle East politics has left Anderson far from freedom.
While all this goes on, and while, you know, these guys in the Middle East say, well, we won't talk to these guys in the United States, and people in the United States say we're not talking to them till they talk to us first. These guys just sort of sit there in a basement somewhere, you know, counting another day.
Terry Anderson is one of 15 foreigners being held hostage in Lebanon tonight. Doug Tennell, CBS News, Paris.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. A reminder, a live special edition of 48 Hours we broadcast tonight at 7 Central Time. We hope you and your family will watch 48 Hours, Armed and Deadly, coming up here shortly. Dan Rather, see you then.
Armed and Deadly, a ban on imported assault weapons, and the controversy grows. CBS News special coverage continues on 48 Hours tonight.
This is CBS.